Welcome to Pumping Python. My name is Jacob Itegboje, and this is how to make a person, where I cover how to make a dictionary with a function. Time to write some code. I will open up the Explorer, then with Control and tilde on the keyboard, open up a terminal. On Windows without subsystem Linux, /make python tdd.ps1 person. On the other operating systems, /make python tdd.sh. Person as the name of the project. Enter to run it, and it makes the folders that are needed and the files, installs packages, then runs the first test. When I Control Option click on the file name, it opens it in the editor. I can change true to false to make the test pass. I have a warning for the spelling of the class name. To make this cap words, I'll make the P capital. And the warning goes away. I'll change this from test failure to test underscore function underscore W underscore keyword underscore arguments. Then change the assert false to assert equal. This takes in two things to see if they're the same. One of them is reality, the other one is my expectation. There's a third one which is a message, but that's not covered here. I'll remove it. Reality in this case would be a call to source.person.factory parentheses. And my expectation is none. But the terminal shows a name error. Name source is not defined. Hashtag name error in the list of exceptions encountered. Then I'll go to the top of the file, enter before import unittest. Import source.person. The terminal shows an attribute error. Module source.person has no attribute factory. Hashtag attribute error in the list of exceptions encountered. Then I'll open up the source folder, grab person.py to put on the left side of the editor. Close the Explorer. I will add the function def factory parentheses colon enter return none. And the test passes. I'll hit enter in between the parentheses. I want the factory function to take in a keyword argument named first underscore name. Its value will be quotes first underscore name, comma at the end of the line. The terminal shows a type error. Factory got an unexpected keyword argument first name. I'll add this to the list of exceptions encountered. Hashtag type error. Then in the parentheses in the definition for the factory function, I'll add first underscore name. And the test passes. Enter after the comma. I want the factory function to take in a keyword argument named last underscore name. Its value will be quotes last underscore name, comma at the end of the line. Another type error. Factory got an unexpected keyword argument last name. I'll add this to the definition. Come after first name. Last underscore name. And the test passes. I want the factory function to take in a keyword argument named sex. Its value will be quotes M, comma at the end of the line. Type error. Factory got an unexpected keyword argument sex. In the parentheses, comma after last name, I'll add sex. And the test passes. I want the factory function to take in a keyword argument named year underscore of underscore birth. Its value will be the call or the result of calling this underscore year parentheses, come after the line or at the end of the line. I get a name error. Name this year is not defined. At the top of the file, enter 3 times after import unit test. Then add the function def this underscore year parentheses colon enter return none. Type error. Factory got an unexpected keyword argument year of birth. I will add that to the definition. Come after sex year underscore of underscore birth. And the test passes. Cleanup time. Enter to the left of first name. Enter to the left of sex. Enter to the left of the closing parentheses backspace. The test is still green. I want the factory function to return a dictionary, not none. I will make a call to the constructor dict parentheses. The terminal shows an assertion error. None is not equal to these empty curly braces. I'll make a copy of the curly braces, then use it to replace none in the return statement. And the test passes because the empty curly braces and the constructor for a dictionary do the same thing. End time between the parentheses for the dictionary, I want it to have a key named first underscore name. Its value will be quotes first underscore name, comma at the end of the line. This matches the values given to the factory function when it's called. The terminal shows an assertion error. The empty curly braces are not equal to this dictionary that has first name as its key and value. I will make a copy of it, then use it to replace the dictionary in the return statement. And the test passes. This is a duplication. I have first name in quotes twice in the test. This means if I want to change the value of one, or if I want to change the value for first name, I have to do it in 2 places. For example, if I change the first one to name, nothing happens. When I change the second one, I get an assertion error. I will undo that change. Come here to self.assert equal enter twice, then go back up. I will add a variable to remove that duplication. First underscore name equal sign quotes first underscore name. And then in the call to the factory function, change this from a hard-coded string to be a reference to that variable I just created named first name. Still green. I will do the same thing in the dictionary. Change this to be a reference to the first name variable. Still green. Now, if I want to change the value for first name, I only have to do it in one place. I'll change this to Jane. The terminal shows an assertion error. I will make a copy of the dictionary on the right side, then use it to replace the one in the return statement. And the test passes. I want the dictionary to have a key named last_name. Its value will be quotes last_name, comma at the end of the line. The terminal shows an assertion error. I will make a copy of the dictionary on the right side, then use it to replace the one in the return statement. And the test passes. This is also a duplication, so I'll add a variable like I did for first name. Enter after Jane. Last_name equals sign quotes last_name. Then in the call to the factory function, change this to be a reference to that variable. I'll do the same thing in the dictionary since the test is still green. Last name. Still green. Now, if I want to change the value for last name, I only have to do it in one place. I'll make this DOE. The terminal shows an assertion error. The dictionary on the right is different from the one in the return statement. I'll make a copy of it, then use it to replace the dictionary in the return statement. And the test is green again. I want the dictionary to have a key named sex. Its value will be quotes M, comma at the end of the line to match what was given to the factory function when it was called. The terminal shows an assertion error. I will make a copy of the dictionary on the right side, use it to replace the one in the return statement. And the test passes. This is also a duplication. Enter after do. I will add a variable named sex. Its value will be quotes M. Then come down to the value in the call to the factory function, change it to be a reference to the sex variable. I'll do the same thing in the dictionary since the test is still green. Change this to sex. Still green. Now if I want to change the value for sex, I only have to do it in one place. I'll make this F instead of M. The terminal shows an assertion error. I'll make a copy of the dictionary on the right side, use it to replace the one in the return statement. And the test passes. I want the dictionary to have a key named age. Its value will be the result of calling this_year parentheses minus the year of birth, which is also this_year parentheses. comma at the end of the line. The terminal shows a type error. Unsupported operand types for minus, non-type, and non-type. The this year function returns none, and I cannot do subtraction with none. What I really want is the value for the current year. So at the top of the file, I'll hit enter, import date time. This is a module from the Python standard library that is used for date and time. I'll come down here to the return statement, change none to be datetime.datetime.now, parentheses, .year. This will give me the value for the year attribute from the datetime object that is returned by the now method from the datetime class from the datetime module. The terminal shows an assertion error. The dictionary on the right has a value for age. I'm going to make a copy of it, then use it to replace the one in the return statement. And the test passes. Time to clean up. Enter to the left of first name. Enter to the left of last name. Enter to the left of sex. Enter to the left of age. Enter to the left of the closing curly brace backspace. The test is still green. I'll add a variable for year underscore of underscore birth to remove some duplication. Equal sign this underscore year parentheses. Then in the call to the factory function, change the value for year of birth to be a reference to the year underscore of underscore birth variable. Still green. I'll do the same thing in the age calculation. I'll leave the first this year, since that part is always going to be the same, only changes once a year. But the second part will be a reference to the year underscore of underscore birth variable. Still green. I want to use random variables for the year of birth. So enter after import date time, import random. This is a module from the Python standard library that is used to make fake random numbers. I will come down here to the year of birth variable, and to the left of this year, random.randint, parentheses around this year. Enter to the left of this year, enter to the right backspace. Then go back to this year, minus 120, comma, this underscore year, parentheses. This will give me a random year from 120 years ago up to and including this year. I get an assertion error every time the test runs, except when the year is the current year, then the age will be 0 and the test will pass. But the age changes because I'm using random numbers. To match the expectation, I am going to change age from this hard-coded number to be this underscore year, parentheses, minus year underscore of underscore birth, comma at the end of the line. The terminal shows a name error. Name this year is not defined. That's right, it's only defined in testperson.py, but I could use the return statement. So I will change the call to be datetime.datetime.now parentheses .year. The terminal shows a name error. Name datetime is not defined. Did you forget to import datetime? At the top of the file, I'll hit enter 3 times, go back to the top, import datetime. And the test passes. I'll add randomness for the sex variable. Random.choice, parentheses around F, parentheses again, a comma after F, quotes M. This will randomly give me F or M. When it is M, I'll get an assertion error. When it is F, the test will pass. To make sure it passes, I'll change the value for sex from a hard-coded value to use the sex input parameter. And the test passes with no more random failures. I'll do the same thing for last name. To the left of Doe, random.choice, parentheses around Doe, parentheses again. Enter to the left of Doe, enter to the right of it, backspace. Then comma after Doe, quote Smith, comma, quotes blow, comma, quotes public, comma at the end of the line, in case I decide to add values later. The terminal shows an assertion error when the last name is not Doe. I'll change it from the hard-coded value to use the last underscore name input parameter. And the test passes. I'll do the same thing for first name. Random.choice, parentheses around Jane, parentheses again. Then enter to the left of Jane, enter to the right, backspace. Comma after Jane, quotes Joe, comma. Quotes John, comma. Quotes person, why not? A comma at the end of the line. The terminal shows a passing test when the first name is Jane, but when it's any of the other values, I get an assertion error. I'll change this from the hard-coded value to use the first underscore name input parameter. And the test passes with no more random failures. Okay. What if I did not know the value for the last name of the person I was making with the factory function? I'm going to add a test to find out. Select everything for test function with keyword arguments up to the closing parentheses, make a copy. Enter twice, backspace twice, paste. Then I will remove the last name variable. Also change the name of the test to be test function with default underscore keyword arguments. I have a name error. Name last name is not defined. So I will also remove the last name from the call to the factory function. This gives me a type error. Factory missing one required positional argument last name. That's because I'm calling the factory function with 3 values and the factory function expects 4. Since I didn't provide one for the last name, I will add a default value in the definition for the factory function. Equal sign none. The terminal shows a syntax error. Parameter without a default follows parameter with a default. Another one for the list of exceptions encountered. Hashtag syntax error. This is because I am breaking a Python rule. I have a parameter that has a default value, and right after it is a parameter that does not have a default value. So I'll give sex a default value of none. The terminal shows another syntax error. Parameter without a default follows parameter with a default. The same syntax error, but this time for year of birth. So I'll give it a default value of none as well. Now I have a name error. Name last name is not defined. This is in the dictionary, which is in the assertion. It's still pointing to that variable that I removed. I will change it to be quotes DOE. And I get an assertion error. The factory function returned a dictionary that has none as the value for last name, but the test expects DOE. Since this is the only place that has a value assigned to last name, I'll change it to match the expectation. Quotes DOE. And both tests are passing. Now to see what would happen if I did not know the value for the sex variable. I'll remove it. Name error. Name sex is not defined. I will remove it from the call to the factory function. The same name error. Name sex is not defined, but this time it's pointing to the reference in the dictionary. This still has that variable that I just removed. I'll change this to quotes M as my expectation. Assertion error. The factory function returned a dictionary that has none as the value for sex, but the test expects M. I will change the default value to match. Quotes M. And both tests are green again. This would be the same as calling the factory function with a last name of quotes DOE and sex of quotes M. Since the values match the default values in the definition of the function, I do not need to pass them in, so it passes whether I send them in or not. This is a duplication. I have the values for first name and year of birth are made the exact same way in both tests. I can add class attributes to remove that duplication. I'll make a copy of those 6 lines. Then hit enter twice before the definition of the first test. Go back up and paste. Select the 6 lines I just pasted and with Shift Tab on the keyboard, move them to the left. To use these, I'll put self dot before the name, the same way I do the assert methods. So first name will now point to self.first underscore name. And year of birth will point to self.year underscore of underscore birth. The tests are still green. I'll do the same thing in the second one. First name will point to self.first underscore name. And year of birth will point to self.year underscore of underscore birth. Still green. Since these variables point to class attributes, I could just use the class attributes directly. That means in the call to the factory function, instead of a reference to first name, it will be a reference to self.first name. Still green, change year of birth to be self.year of birth. Still green, self.first name in the dictionary. Still green, and then self.year of birth. Since the test is still passing, I can remove first name and year of birth from that one because they're no longer used. I'll do the same thing in the first test. Year of birth becomes self.year of birth. And self.first name. Still green. In the call to the factory function, self.year of birth. And self.first name. Still green, I can remove the year of birth variable. And the first name variable. They're both no longer used. Both tests are still passing. Since I'm using class attributes, the values for first name and year of birth are now exactly the same in both tests. It was not like that before. They were assigned to random values, then there would be an assertion. To get back that structure, I am going to use the setup method from the unittest or test case class, which runs before each test. This means first name and year of birth will be assigned to random values, then the first test will run. Then they'll be assigned to random values again, and the second test will run. Here's what that looks like. Enter before first name. DEF set capital UP parentheses self a colon at the end. Then select the 6 lines, hit tab to move them to the right. The terminal shows an attribute error. Test person object has no attribute first name. This is because the test methods point to self.first name, which is a class attribute that no longer exists. First name is now a local variable in the setup method, and those methods cannot reach it. To make this a class attribute, self.first name. The terminal shows an attribute error, same as before, this time for year of birth. So I'll do the same thing, self.year of birth. And both tests are green again. I'm going to close out the test file and write the solution without looking at the tests. So select everything in person.py, hit delete. The terminal shows an attribute error. Module source.person has no attribute factory. I will add the name. This gives me a name error. Name factory is not defined. Equal sign none to define it. Now I have a type error. Non-type object is not callable. I'll make it a function. def factory parentheses colon enter return remove the equal sign none. Another type error. Factory got an unexpected keyword argument first name. I will add the name to the parentheses. First underscore name. Still a type error. Factory got an unexpected keyword argument last name. Comma last underscore name in the parentheses. Again, a type error. Factory got an unexpected keyword argument sex. Comma sex in the parentheses. Type error. Factory got an unexpected keyword argument year of birth. After sex, comma year underscore of underscore birth. The terminal shows an assertion error. None is not equal to this dictionary on the right. I'm going to make a copy of it and use it to replace none in the return statement. Still an assertion error. The age changed. Last name changed. Okay. I will change the last name from this hard-coded value to use the last underscore name input parameter. Still an assertion error. The age changed, first name changed, and sex changed. So I'll use the first name input parameter instead of the hard-coded value. Assertion error. The age changed this time and the sex. I will use the sex input parameter instead here. Okay, now just the age changed, so I will use year underscore of underscore birth. Still an assertion error. The year of birth is definitely not the age, but if I do the current year minus the year of birth, I'll get the age. So I'm going to import date time. Enter 3 times before def factory, import date time. Then come here to the year of birth. I could just write the number, but that would mean the test will only work in the year that I write the number. But if I do datetime.today parentheses dot year minus year of birth, the value should always be correct. Type error. Factory missing 2 required positional arguments, last name and sex. Whoever called the factory function just now did not provide a value for last name and sex. I'll add default values. Equal sign none. Syntax error. Parameter without a default follows parameter with a default. I'll give sex a default value. Same syntax error, this time for year of birth, so I'll give it a default value as well. Equal sign none. And I have an assertion error. The factory function returned a dictionary that has none as value for last name and none as value for sex. The test expects doe as the value for last name and m as the value for sex. I'll change the default value for last name to match the expectation. Quotes DOE. Still an assertion error. This time the value for sex does not match the expectation. I'll change it to match. And both tests are passing. Time to clean up. Enter to the left of first name. Enter to the left of sex. Enter to the left of the closing curly. Enter to the left of the closing parentheses, backspace. In the dictionary, enter to the left of first name. Enter to the left of last name. Enter to the left of sex. Enter to the left of age. Enter to the left of the closing curly brace backspace. And I'll put a comma at the end of year of birth. Alright, still green. I will bring back testperson.py to the editor. Close the Explorer, close the terminal. I ran tests to write a function that takes in keyword arguments as input, has default values for some of them, does a calculation with one of them, and returns a dictionary as output. I also encountered the following exceptions: assertion error, name error, attribute error, type error, and syntax error. Would you like to know how to handle exceptions in tests? I will see you in the next one.